brand new clear quartz crystal singing bowl tuned to the note A for the third eye chakra. And I bought this baby recently specifically to take with me on my journeys as I go on some adventures this January, February into March, maybe even April, who knows. Starting with a nice little sabbatical in California in January, and then in February I'll be taking this beautiful sound healing tool with me to Costa Rica, where I'll be leading the Source Resonance Sound Healing Training Intensive for 5 days, February 5th to the 10th. And I just wanted to let people know what it's all about, because I'm really excited about this training. This year has been a milestone year for me because I've had the opportunity to run my first ever sound healing training here in Toronto, which I developed called Source Resonance. And I got to run it back in the spring with a beautiful group for the first wave, and then there was so much demand that I ended up running it again in the fall, and we recently completed the second wave, and it was a really glorious endeavor to step forth in my own powers as a sound healer and sacred musician and lead and guide people into this paradigm, which has really taken my heart for the last decade and really been the greatest act of service that I've been bringing to the world, sharing this whole paradigm of sound healing and vibrational philosophy. So in February, I'm really excited because I'll be bringing this Source Resonance training to Costa Rica and really galvanizing it in 5 full days, where we'll be covering all the terrain and the training in a very intensive environment, an intensive offering. And we're going to be doing that at a beautiful center in Costa Rica called Posada Natura, and it's a beautiful water sanctuary right near a sacred river in the jungle. And it's a center where they do a lot of sacred work, a lot of sacred ceremonies happen there. And I feel it'll be a really great place to house this training and to really offer a space for us to really transform. Because working with sound really is one of the most transformational tools that you can use. One of the great loves of mine is converging science and spirituality, and seeing that as kind of the setting of the common ground for the golden age. I really feel when science and spirituality confirm each other, we're really witnessing two paradigms wedding that have been really at odds with each other for centuries. Mysticism and science have really butted heads. And what's beautiful about sound healing is it offers this kind of beautiful temple for these two paradigms to come together and to reinforce each other. And I love science, and I love delving into quantum physics, which is the sort of new field of science, which is helping us understand the very energetic and vibrational terrain of our reality. And then, of course, there's these beautiful dovetailings with quantum physics and ancient wisdom. And the wisdom of the ancients and more mystical traditions were also very energetic and vibrational in their understanding of reality. And some of the scientists have really caught wind of this. Fritjof Capra comes to mind. He wrote the Tao of Physics in the 1970s. And since then, many other scientists have got very interested in Eastern mysticism because they see this beautiful understanding in our ancient ancestral knowledge of this spiritual reality. And hey, Lou. And another great theorist that I love is Ervin Laszlo, the quantum theorist. He wrote the book Science in the Akashic Field, which is a beautiful act of humility, because instead of using terms like the 0-point field, which are these terms for this universal field of energy that quantum physics has discovered ties everything together, Ervin Laszlo realized that the Akashic field, which is the Vedic understanding of this same energetic field that unites everything in our universe, they called it the Akashic field, and Ervin Laszlo, in a great act of humility, said, you know what, instead of calling it the 0-point field, let's use the ancient terminology. So a lot of this training will be about emboldening people in these understandings, because something that I'm very passionate about is demystifying some of the spirituality of our new age, because some of it can get kind of into that woo-woo terrain, which can really disengage people who are of more of a scientific background. And I feel a lot of this stuff can be really understood through the scientific gaze. And of course, science is kind of the mainstream paradigm that we look at our reality. So it's very empowering to be educated on how to speak to people of all walks of life, but especially to unfold a lot of this spirituality in the paradigms of mysticism and science. And so a lot of the training will be giving people those tools and those understandings so that you can walk into a business boardroom, for example, and do a sound bath and explain to people why meditation and why the vibrational tones of, for instance, crystal bowls can be scientifically explained, and why they actually put our brainwave states into alpha and bring us into a nice state of relaxation, which is really a huge boon to initiate that really relaxation response in people, especially dealing with the amount of stress that we have in our modern world. On top of that, we'll also be going into a lot of the nuts and bolts of what is sound healing. We'll be doing a lot of work with the crystal singing bowls. I'll be bringing, of course, this beautiful big crystal bowl with me, and I'll have 4 others. I'll be bringing some of my alchemy bowls as well, which are beautiful fusions of precious gemstones with quartz. And we'll be learning how to work with crystal singing bowls, which are some of the most advanced tools of sound healing. And we'll also be doing a lot of work with the voice. The voice is the most intimate and, in my opinion, the most powerful sound healing tool that we have. And we'll be looking at how we can engage the voice in a self-healing practice, how to work with the chakras, how to balance our energy centers, and how to use the voice even in one-on-one healing. The toning of the voice is very powerful. It revivifies the energy of the body. It can clear the mind. And we'll also be going into mantra work, looking into the yoga of sound, why mantras have been used for eons, and why the Vedic mystics of India said that literally sound and mantra is the quickest way to enlightenment. It enthuses us in very powerful ways and can change our vibrational nature very quickly with immediacy. And we'll also be looking at how to create group sound healings and sound bath experiences, which are, of course, an amazing thing to bring into your community and to bring into the world. Because when we work with sound in that capacity, we can really bring coherence in a group, especially when there's conflict within a group. And sound also allows us to access mystical states, which in my opinion are essential for any human being to live a healthy life. We must engage a greater sense of ourselves and the reality that we live in. And a lot of that can seem very esoteric to people, but the beauty of sound is that it can really directly put you into an experience of an amplified sense of your consciousness. So we'll be delving into that, and then probably the most inner work of the training is the path of the sacred musician, which is something that I've been reclaiming for myself. I really feel that a lot of musicians are starting to realize that music has a very sacred and spiritual power, and that it doesn't necessarily mean that music has to be for primarily entertainment purposes. Music can be an offering of prayer, and it can be an offering of healing. And the great god Apollo of ancient Greece was not only the god of medicine, but he was also the god of music. So the sacred musician is also the part of the training where we'll be delving into the ancestral beliefs on what music really is, looking at the Pythagorean tradition. And every day we'll actually be starting our day with a beautiful ritual to connect to the muses, which is this group of spiritual beings that the Greeks connected to as being the source of a lot of the creative genius that our human species brings into the world. And the sacred musician realizes that this form of creativity that we bring in the world is a tousling between our consciousness and a more divine consciousness. And Pythagoras himself said that before you start any community, you should build an altar to the muses to really build that connection to these mystical entities and energies. So we'll be really doing that in a direct way, which is very powerful, because what we'll be doing with the rituals to the muses is we'll be connecting ourselves to a very ancient rite that has been passed down for thousands of years through ancestral traditions. And so we'll be reconnecting with that, which will be a great full circling, which is very empowering to bring back our ancestors into our lives in that way. And on top of that, we'll be, doing things like shaking medicine on the daily, because I believe that ecstatic dance and shaking medicine is a great way to get out of our inhibitions. Because when we start to use music and sound, a lot of people get caught up in the performance of it. To stand forth as a facilitator and to perform sound and music for others can be really daunting for people. But when you really go into ecstatic movement and shaking and vocally releasing the voice and the catharsis of the yelling and the releases that we'll be doing together, for me, that was integral to my path of freedom. And a lot of people admire the work I do, and they say, wow, how can you channel song? How can you improvise so freely? Well, I started like most people with a lot of nerves and a lot of fear and a lot of constriction. And one of the integral practices was shaking my body in a very ecstatic way and getting into these states of wildness where I could feel completely free and uninhibited. And so we'll be rousing ourselves in that, and we'll also be working with the sacred medicine of cacao and raw chocolate to help initiate that uninhibited state. And then we'll be doing lots of beautiful meditative practices, song circles. We're going to start the whole training off on the first day with a beautiful sacred fire ceremony to cleanse ourselves energetically, because for the training, it will also be fundamentally a powerful path of transformation. When you start to sound your voice and you sound your body in intentional ways, you do start to evolve yourself energetically and spiritually. So we want to make sure that everyone's sort of at a tabula rasa, at a clean slate from the beginning. And sacred fire ceremonies have been one of the great ways that we can purify ourselves. Fire is very transformational for our energy. So we'll be beginning with that. And then on the second day, we'll be doing a temazcal, which is a traditional sweat lodge ceremony from the Mesoamerican people. And the people at Posada Natural are very skilled in conducting these ceremonies. So that'll be a beautiful way for us to also deepen our rites of purification and to enter into a sacred space so that we can connect to all these beautiful energies of sound and music in a deeper way. And of course, we'll be doing lots of nature connection as well, because part of the work of vibration is realizing that it's the vibrations of nature that we're missing the most in our lives. And we'll have the opportunity to be in a very raw, beautiful space of nature, working with the sound of water and the cleansing of water of the river and the jungle. We'll be doing some work with silence, just stepping into the silence so that we can hear the nada yoga, which is the inner sounds of our inner being, which silence really allows us to find reflection in. And then the site itself, Posada Natural, is really beautiful. There's beautiful amenities. There's a beautiful pool. There's a steam room, a hot tub. So it'll also have a bit of a retreat element where you can just come to a much warmer climate. Costa Rica is so beautiful, and we'll be able to do a lot of relaxation and process work, because there'll be a lot of material that we'll be covering in a short space of time. And Posada Natural will allow us a very comfortable space for us to also relax at the end of the day and to really be with ourselves and be with the beautiful community. There's already a nice group that's been signed up. So there's going to be a beautiful addition to the Source Resonance family. And this is really a beautiful training for you to also learn just how to self-heal for yourself. But this will also be a training to embolden you to step forth into the world with your first baby steps as a sound healer, to offer sound, to offer music as healing to communities and to the world at large. When we sound and make music in intentional ways, in touch with the sacred, we really heal the vibrational fields of the world. And this is a huge part of the spiritual activism that's starting to rise in the world. The revelation that we don't just have to go out and protest and confront and change things in that very direct physical way, that we can also work in a meta-physical way through vibration, through sound and music. It's a very powerful way to make adjustments and to tune the vibrational fields of the world. I can't say enough how powerful sound healing is, and how I do believe it's going to continually rise and burgeon to the point where vibrational medicine and sound healing, I really do believe, will be one of the most mainstream ways that we heal mind, body, and soul in the world. So if you are interested, please write me any questions you might have. There are still spots available, and we are definitely looking to fill it up soon. I'm fully confident that that will happen very soon. So please reach out if you want to reserve your spot. And I look forward to you joining us in Costa Rica if you're interested. It's a beautiful country. And of course, at the end of February, we have the Envision Festival. So if you feel like coming for the Source Resonance training, then, I encourage you to stick around and take maybe a bit of a sabbatical, a bit of a holiday in Costa Rica and see what that country has to offer. There's lots of other beautiful spaces to go and heal and just revel in. And then I'll be at the Envision Festival at the end of the month of February, offering sound and workshops at the yoga area. So stick around and join us at Envision. And if you are, then there will probably be opportunities for us Source Resonators to work with sound again in group and give some beautiful offerings to the public. I'll definitely be keen, if some of you are sticking around, to working with you and activating you in your first steps and offering these things to the world. So don't hesitate to reach out and join us in Costa Rica as we resonate with the energies of Source, the energies of sound and vibration, which are really the fundamental organic, beautiful living blocks or living energies of this universe. And yeah, I'll leave you with a little invocation as we celebrate this beautiful state of the winter solstice that we're in right now. It's a beautiful time of year to really go in and to seek your visions. So please allow the vibrations of this bowl just sink you a little deeper into your heart and just dream yourself in a powerful way. Be in the visions of this time of year where we really come into silence to generate and make those beautiful seeds of potential that we'll be planting and making in the spring. Just really listening to that beautiful tone of the crystal. Beautiful harmonic structure of quartz crystal starting to resonate with the structures of your body, bringing you back into a state of harmony.
Rangi shara kurai ramuhi ulahi ramayari
The source